Good evening. Welcome to the July 3rd, 2024 meeting of the Gaithersburg Planning Commission. Welcome, everybody. Light agenda tonight, no meeting minutes, so we're going to move right to a courtesy review agenda tonight with 2 items. And presenting from staff is Michael Hackman. Good evening, Michael.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Staff is before you this evening to introduce amendment to final plan AFP 9771-2024. It's a courtesy review to add solar panels over an existing parking lot. This project is located at 1300 Quince Orchard Boulevard and is zoned E1, and the subject property is shown currently on the screen. It is owned by Montgomery County, so this is being presented as a courtesy review. Here to present the application is Chris Sewell and Peter Baduvas from Green Structure.
Good evening.
Thank you. Perfect. Thanks for having us. We're excited to be projects with Montgomery County to bring green energy, more green energy. Is great. It's what we need right now, and it's been a pleasure working with Don and his team to get these projects going. So the first project tonight is going to consist of 3 carports all over existing parking. It's going to be 3 arrays, totaling 446 kilowatts of solar panels. The benefits of solar carports, there's a couple additional advantages of carports as opposed to other types of ground-mounted solar fields. With this project, there's much less disturbance to existing native soils or native habitats, because all of the foundations are going to either be in the parking lot itself or right off the parking lot where it had already been disturbed in the construction of the building prior. This project is projected to make 555.4 megawatt hours of power every year. Just to put that in a little bit of perspective, the average home in Maryland uses about 1 megawatt hour of power a month, 12 per year, and so this would provide enough energy for the equivalent of 46 households in Maryland. Another advantage of the project that we're putting in here is that it is going to be a microgrid, and so it's going to interact with the county's generators that are on site in the event that the grid goes down. Most solar systems, when the grid goes down, they turn off. They don't have the ability to produce power. We're going to be able to run the PV in parallel to the generators, lowering the demand on the generators, which will allow more green energy production in the event of a power failure. It's also going to allow more resilience because the generators are not going to be running as hard to provide the power that the building needs if there is a grid outage situation. On this project, we're going to cover approximately 70 parking spots with the canopy. We are not removing any existing parking spots with this project, but the carports will provide for those 70 parking spots during the summer, and in the winter, if there is a snow or a winter event, it's going to help provide coverage for all of the vehicles that are parked underneath it. And one additional thing is with these canopies being built above an existing non-permeable parking surface, there's going to be no change to existing stormwater flow or water runoff that would be going into the ground. There's no change to the permeable surface of the site. This is kind of a side view of the 2 different canopies structures that are going to be going in. On the first 2 smaller canopies to the northwest and the north of the building, they're going to be more of that T structure that you see on the bottom. The third larger canopy on the east side of the building is going to be a long span canopy that is more of, there will be posts on. And any questions?
So the power that's generated from this, or that's produced from these, that's for the sole use of that building, or does it go back into the grid as one, like the residential model? How
Yeah, so it in the event that the solar is producing more than what the building is currently using, it will flow back into the grid, and then the county will get a credit on their bill that when they use it later, it will offset. So if, what they produce during the day will be offsetting their usage during the night.
What these days is the expected life cycle of this hardware? Like how long do you really expect it to last?
We expect the canopies themselves, the panels, the vast majority of the equipment to last the full 25-year projected lifespan of the project. I would say the one item that typically we factor in replacing once during the life of the project is the inverters themselves that take DC power made by the panels, convert it to the AC power that the grid uses, the building uses.
Sure.
And just from past experience, we've found that those components, they don't last the full 25 years without having to either swap power boards inside them or change out the whole unit itself. And in this case, we're using a number of smaller inverters. So if one were to go down, it doesn't affect the rest of the panels that are producing on that system. So we wouldn't have, it's much more unlikely to have a full outage of the solar all at once. So there's some resiliency there. And it's also a lot easier to send out our tech in the event something goes down to replace a single smaller unit. Two people can swap it out pretty easy in an hour or two.
Great. Okay. Any other questions?
I'm just seeing some usage. There's a building that's kind of close to Shady Grove Road in Key West. It's like a business and stuff like that, and they have this, and it looks great. I mean, and it clearly works wonderful. I think this is a great use of the technology, and I think it's going to be wonderful for the city.
Just a quick question about technology.
Sure.
Technology is evolving at a very rapid pace.
Mm-hmm.
This is 25 years, like you said, is the lifespan on this. Should the technology improve to a point where power or energy, could you swap these out? Is it possible to swap them out in the future? Just out of curiosity.
The short answer is yes, it is possible to repower a system. It would typically that would involve swapping out all of the modules, the inverters,
Yeah, okay.
and potentially some of that backhaul connection to the grid may need to be upgraded because now we have a larger system and that wasn't planned for. If that opportunity arises, we'll certainly look at working with the county to make that happen.
Are there any plans for, I know it sounds self-serving, EV hookups and using some of that energy for the EV hookups?
So at this project, it's not in our scope to provide EV hookups. We would be happy to have that conversation. It is something that is in our arsenal of our microgrid suite to add in.
Okay.
So is this, and if you can't answer it, that's fine, but I guess there's a strategy to start doing this in many other places. I guess you really can't answer that. That's kind of, I figured that was your question.
I guess at this point I'll join you. Is this good? Yep. My name is Don Shorman. I'm the Chief of the Office of Energy and Sustainability for the Department of General Services for Montgomery County, Maryland. We are the office that is tasked with both microgrids and solar arrays and currently EV charging. So you actually got the right person. So what we're doing, as you know, Montgomery County has a stated goal that by 2035 that we will be at zero greenhouse gas emissions. So that is one of our tasks, is to get to that point. It's one of the reasons we're working with green structures. We're going with what I affectionately call a blended microgrid. You could just put big generators on a site, or you can go through working with somebody like Green Structures, put in significant PV panels and be producing green power, and totally made up number, 99.8% of the time when the grid is working, you're producing green power that is net metered and reduces the overall greenhouse gases that are required to operate the facility. So we are using that strategy of using blended microgrids. You can have PV solar. We can bring in battery electric storage systems along with our natural gas generators when needed. And the idea is to be able to produce as much greenhouse gas reducing renewable energy on site as we possibly can. And so that's kind of our strategy. We're actually going to be coming out with an RFP in the not too distant future. We're looking at adding another 22, 23 microgrids. We currently have 5 that are active. You're hearing of 2 of them tonight. We have a third one where we had a rather significant breaking here June 14th, which is at our MTOC bus facility at Shady Grove and Crabs Branch Way. That's a 5.5 megawatt solar system that's going in there that'll support our zero emissions bus fleet.
Okay.
And it also has the uniqueness in that we're going to be providing a 1 megawatt hydrogen electrolyzer to produce hydrogen for our hydrogen fuel cell buses that are going to be part of our zero emissions fleet. So we're very much committed to zero greenhouse gas emissions. And we're working very hard, and it's great pleasure to work with Green Structures to help move that forward. I would like to take a minute and say thank you to Greg and Michael. They've worked with us very well in this process. I sat in on a meeting where plan review went through each and all the different questions and just worked us through, and staff has been amazing and very helpful in this process.
Thanks for recognizing them. They do a good job.
Yeah.
I actually had a curiosity. Who's in this building? What part of the county is this?
This is the 911 call center.
Oh,
So yes, it matters.
Yes. The generator seems important.
any
Yeah.
other questions? All right, you want to move on to the next one?
Sure.
Actually, before I do that, technically this is a public hearing or no?
We do have a staff recommended motion recommending.
For each one.
We can read the staff recommended motion for this
Well,
one.
let me see if anybody is, and you know the routine, if you're online and want to comment on this application, hit the raised hand button, and if that happens, we'll recognize you and you can get on and make your comments. In the meantime, what's the staff recommendation, please?
Staff recommends that the Planning Commission conduct courtesy review of final site plan AFP 9771 2024, and based on the exhibits submitted, applicant's testimony, staff report, findings and recommendation, recommend approval of the final site plan.
Okay. Any concerns with that? No. All right, and I see no hands up, so is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that we've conducted our courtesy review of the final site plan for AFP 9771-2024, and based on the exhibits submitted, applicant's testimony, and staff report, findings and recommendations, recommend approval of the site plan.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Thanks very much. Okay, let's do the next one.
Real quick, just to clarify that there's no one in the audience available for public testimony.
That's true. If I didn't say it before, thank you for mentioning it.
All right. Good evening, Planning Commission again. Staff is before you this evening to introduce amendment to final plan AFP 9790-2024, which is a courtesy review to add solar canopies to an existing garage. This project is located at 222 Paramount Park Drive, and it's zoned MXD. The subject property here is shown on the screen. The garage has been constructed, but the police station has not yet been constructed. It is owned by Montgomery County, and as such, the project is being presented to the Planning Commission as a courtesy review. And here again to present is Chris Sewell and Peter Baduvas from Green Structure.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Long time no see.
So this is, from a size perspective, this is a very similar project to the one we just discussed. Slightly smaller on the DC size. It's 416 kilowatts. It's going to be arranged in the 5 arrays that you see there. One of the main differences here is this is being built on top, on the top layer of a garage parking structure. So, the couple, the advantage of that. The first and biggest highlight of this project is it's projected to be Montgomery County's first net zero building. This is a big step, I know, for Don and his team. In the goals he just stated, addressing the last project. Projected to make almost the exact same amount of power per year as the previous project. For this case, it's 554.9 megawatt hours. That math works out to the same 46 households worth of electrical production. We get the same increased resilience here with the microgrid and the solar being able to work in parallel with the on-site generator for the facility. We once again provide shade and cover for all the vehicles on the top deck of the parking garage, or most of the top deck of the parking garage. It covers most of the parking spots. And in the winter, it will provide cover for and or ice. One of the great things about building on top of a parking garage is, in this case, we will have zero projected disturbance of the ground. It was planned through the construction of the garage, pre-existing columns and connection points. Right. So we're really just setting it on top of the garage, and we already have during the course of the construction of the facility, we had the conduits were already run underground that we need to connect back for our solar system. So we actually have a zero dig scope on this project. And then like the previous project, there's going to be once the garage is finished, we're going to add no additional change to the stormwater plan or adding any additional impervious surfaces, because our array fits entirely on top of the existing concrete structure. As the last project, it's very similar. Mostly the T structures are how the arrays are going to be arranged. With the detail there shows lighting underneath, so there will be lighting under the canopy for at night to make sure everyone's safe and everyone can see where they're going. I know this was a very similar project, but do we have any additional questions on this project?
Greg, out of curiosity, are we going to be doing a cursory review on the police station itself?
It was actually done a couple of years ago.
2009.
Yes, it was a long time ago. But we haven't.
15 years ago.
Yeah. That's the other question that I had was, it's an interesting juxtaposition of that project, and across the street, there's a very large solar, I wouldn't call it a farm, but there's a lot of solar panels on the other side of that block. So it's sort of like an entranceway. It is almost an entranceway to Gaithersburg. And it really is a cornerstone. It is a gateway. I think that's really impressive. I'm really looking forward to seeing that and giving off the idea that it's important that we in Gaithersburg, as well as the county, find going green very important.
Yeah. Good point. Anything else? No?
I associate myself with my colleagues' comments.
No, the only thing I would add, again, Don Shorman with the Office of Energy and Sustainability for the Department of General Services with Montgomery County. We're very excited. This is our first net zero building, and it is our police station. We're going to be going to the Mach-E, vehicles at some point for the police cars and everything. I mean, we're working truly to get to that transition point when we can get to the zero greenhouse gas emissions, and this is a major step forward for us. It is our first new build facility that we're able to accomplish this. It was a coordinated effort between Green Structures and our building design and construction. They worked hand in hand together to make sure that it was designed with the attachment points to allow this to occur, and like you said, and integrated totally. And again, once again, the planning staff was amazing, working with Green Structures to help move this forward, and really appreciate it.
Somewhat random technical question while you're all standing here, or sitting here. Are you able to, from a standpoint parking garage lighting and canopy lighting, are you able to power that direct from DC power, or do you have to still go through the inverter for all your lighting?
The lighting on this project will be from the AC side, from
Okay.
the building's electrical.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I was
district.
thinking the exact same question, but yeah, everything goes
The-
straight to the
with
inverter.
this project, the
Yeah.
problem with doing it all, potentially doing it all DC, is we don't have an energy storage
Need a
system on
battery.
site.
Yeah.
And you would also need that couple side of your inverters if all the lighting was going to be running off of the DC.
So you can only have the lights on during the day.
Yeah, and I'll just add that, yeah, this is exciting for many, many reasons that Lloyd has already said. And I was a member of the Environmental Affairs Committee for years and years and years before I did 20 years on the Planning Commission. And we've been pushing and pushing and pushing for these things, and luckily the county's come in and helped us with it. So thank you very, very much. And I'll just say my midlife crisis led me to a the GT, and I should tell you that civilians should not be driving that. So I'm happy that trained professionals be driving those things, because I should not be behind the wheel of that thing. But this is great. This is really exciting. Proud.
Yeah.
You said that on camera.
Yeah.
All right, great. Any other comments?
No.
So to echo all of them, this is a fantastic project. I'm curious on the police station side, on that second project, is that, what's the, well, actually for both of them to come online or be built?
Not speaking too far out of turn, I believe, and if you quote me on this, I will be in trouble. I believe the ribbon cutting is probably somewhere around June of '25.
That makes sense.
For the police station
For the
side?
police station.
And then how long-
And they're going to be fully integrated and up and running as we open the station.
Oh, I see, okay.
Correct, yeah.
Great.
So temp power might come from these panels for construction. I don't see why it wouldn't, right?
They make DC construction equipment now, battery powered. You can just plug your backhoe into the PV panels.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
my comrade in the fleet division is in the process of trying to figure all this out as far as how to do it. You know, we do have a utility vehicle that libraries is going to be using for book deliveries, and you know, the bookmobile is electric, and then we are working through the various different types of utility vehicles to try to get to that electric point. And then, of course, obviously, we've got battery buses. We have them currently in Brookville. And then we're looking forward to the hydrogen fuel cells when they arrive, so.
All the major, like, national and international general contractors I deal with are all, have groups who are looking at how do we electrify our job sites and get rid of diesel and all that stuff.
Yeah, they have interesting little power packs that go with it, so you can plug them in and recharge on the site, yeah, so.
Excellent. Well, listen, if I don't really said it directly, thanks for being here tonight. I know it's a courtesy review, and
Yes.
it doesn't really have a formal authority to it, but we do appreciate you bringing it in and showing it to us and working with our staff to make it all come together. So thank
Our
you very much
pleasure.
for doing
Thank
that.
you.
Welcome.
Excited to see that in the city. And thank you, Michael, for being here tonight on your first planning commission.
Well, I'll even add, to say, that even though it's a courtesy review, there's a lot of push and pull from staff you see in the report
Yeah.
to just do, make the easements right, to get some of the, WS and grading things correct, and it's a wonderful aspect of an attentive staff, even though it's a courtesy review from another higher jurisdiction, that we actually give it the care and love that we would give any other application. That's
And
great.
the collaboration is appreciated. Yes.
Sure is. Thanks, guys. All right.
You may want to ask for public comment. It is a different application.
Okay.
Keep us honest.
Fair enough. And so for the record, and before we can move to a motion, online, and you know the routine with raising your hand, hit the raise your hand icon, and seeing nobody in the audience here except for the applicant's team, I'm going to assume that nobody is here looking to testify on this. And so while we wait to see if anybody does log in and raise their hand, Michael, please, with the recommendation.
Staff recommends that the Planning Commission conduct courtesy review of the final site plan, AFP 9790-2024, and based on the exhibits submitted, applicant's testimony, and staff report, findings and recommendation, recommend approval of the final site plan.
Start motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously. Again, thank you very much We won't keep you here any longer. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you
that
for
takes
taking the
us-
time. We appreciate it too.
Thank you.
That takes us to from the commission. Danny, may I start with you?
I'm not gonna say anything this time. I'll wait till,
Saving it up.
saving it up.
Nothing
Okay.
bad. Nothing,
Lloyd,
no
anything?
comment.
No? Okay, no.
Nothing from me.
Nothing. Phil, anything
I
tonight?
think the one thought that I had that tonight's application brought up, and it's a question for staff and maybe something to look into further.
You guys can leave. You don't really have to listen to this. You don't want to. But you're welcome to.
To what extent are there barriers within the city, either within HOAs or specifically within historic districts, the city's historic districts, that are barriers to residents who want to add solar? And are there things that, as a planning commission, as the city is that we should move forward to remove some of those?
It's a good question, and preservation is always a difficult one, as sure as everyone knows. It's actually something we baked into the most recent element of the Historic Preservation Master Plan on different strategies and ways to start looking at sustainability in our districts. Nothing's really come forward yet on that, but it is in the master plan. We did give it some forethought. HOAs are a different matter. We don't have any jurisdiction
Yeah.
over the HOAs.
Well, there's some state, I think, override for HOAs, right?
Yeah, there are. I believe that's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think my recollection when that came out, the carve-out is for historic districts, not for HOAs. So that's
Right.
it's on the city to
Yeah.
either adjust or not.
Yeah,
to
nobody wants to go up against
facilitate.
the historic guys.
So that's my prod, that something that I think we should push on a little bit more.
And you guys are, I mean, that's actually a good, actually for your team, Michael, right, where you're working through some of the master plan projects that are coming up. That would be something to pencil in as on the list, right?
All right.
Wish
Anything else?
everybody a happy 4th of July.
All right. Frank, anything tonight?
Nothing tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Greg?
Actually,
Just a couple dates to remind you about. This upcoming Monday, July 8th, is the joint work session on the Lake Forest SDP. It will be at the new City Council Chambers, which is at 16 South Summit. It's very exciting. First meeting there, last meeting here. And then our next planning commission meeting is July 17th, and obviously all of the subsequent meetings from the 8th on will be in the chambers.
Excellent.
And
such that I wanted to emphasize, this is the last
Very
meeting
last.
here. So,
Who's got the key?
Turn the
Mondays
lights on.
was the last
got the
one, and
key
I
and
think
turn
I
it
had the
off?
last agenda item Monday night for the council as well, so.
This is a diehard thing, just throw the grenade into the
Oh,
building
right.
and walk away? No?
Other than that, happy 4th of July.
Happy
everyone.
4th of
Thank
July.
you.
Fourth of
Safe.
July. All right, if there's nothing else, happy 4th of July, happy long weekend. We're adjourned.
Excellent.